disrupted.
America that I fought for.
Weird thing to happen. So the little darling of MSNBC, Rachael Maddow, has made front page news, ladies and gentlemen, once again, because it's a new dawning for another conspiracy to leak out. Rachael Maddow claims, according to this, she is worried Trump may send her to an internment camp if elected president again. I love how we finally had the sunset of Russiagate. We said goodbye to it. The McCarthy smears, the red baiting. We've kind of slowly dawned that away. We, sunsetted that off to the distance. And now comes the new rise of another conspiracy to cultivate us in the wakes of an election year. On the possibility that Rachael Maddow is sent to an internment camp. Here we go again, folks. Here we go again. Because, the last 4 years with Trump definitely proved that, right? So here we go. This is actually a very elaborate article here. It says MSNBC host Rachael Maddow on Monday said she fears former President Donald Trump would use a potential return to the White House to place her in an internment camp. Internment camps were last used in the United States during World War II to detain Japanese Americans. In a conversation with CNN, the anchor explained she fears Trump may revive such camps for his harshest critics, such as herself. Which I would argue, calling Rachael Maddow a harshest critic is kind of laughable. Because out of the things that Trump could be criticized for, and there's a lot of times where I've harshly criticized Trump on his warmongering pacts or, his bank bailouts or giving tax breaks to his buddies in the top 1%. Like, Rachael Maddow is kind of like that loony... I feel like she's that loony, play school kind of girl that, hates this guy so much, but secretly deep down, actually wishes to befriend Trump. I wish to be in his circle so much, but I hate him. I hate him so much. That's why I'm going to, fill his chocolate cookie with mud. That's why I'm going to spend the next 4 years of my journalistic career making up stories about him. I don't consider her the harshest critic, which makes this thing laughable to begin with. She quotes, "I'm worried about the country broadly if we put someone in power who is openly avowing that he plans to build camps to hold millions of people and to root out what he describes in subhuman terms as his enemy from within," she said in a reference to Trump's rhetoric toward Marxists and communists. Again, history is helpful here. He's not joking when he says is this stuff. And we've seen what happens when people take power proclaiming that kind of agenda. So what can we say about her taking a powerful stance, elaborating the Democratic establishment, neoliberal, corporatist, status quo bubble that she produces every single night? Or I think now she's down to weekends, but how many years has Rachael Maddow elevated the means of the intelligence services to push random conspiracies to patronize you and to fearmonger, to manipulate you and to brainwash you every single night? What kind of stance would Rachael Maddow put herself, being a proclaimed journalist, when you're really just a stenographer repeating the garbage that you're being told to say on air? You're repeating to the masses. Continuing, Rachael Maddow predicted Trump will go as far as to declare martial law on his first day as president. When Trump invokes the Insurrection Act to deploy the U.S. military against civilians on his first day in office, do you think he will rescind the order on day 2? She asks. For that matter, what convinces you is that these massive camps he's planning are only for migrants. So yes, I'm worried about me, but only as much as I'm worried about all of us. And I just want to point out this is not compared to the idea that the unvaccinated need to be sent to a camp to get away from the vaccinated people. We're talking about a different internment camp, right? This is what we're referring to, not that kind of idea. Maddow has been an outspoken critic of Trump throughout his re-election bid. In March, she told viewers of MSNBC's Super Tuesday coverage that they would not hear all from former President Donald Trump's victory speech due to it being deemed irresponsible to broadcast. Yeah, do you remember that? MSNBC had the audacity to tell its own audience that, hey, we can't show you a live broadcast. We can't actually tell you the news and go to live coverage because we feel the most powerful figures in this industry that used to manipulate you, we feel that it's irresponsible for a broadcaster to broadcast news. We feel it's our job to watch it for you and then tell you what we think about it, and then you suck that in and get propagandized by the things we're saying. It's irresponsible to show you live coverage. That's Rachael Maddow doing this. That's Rachael Maddow refusing to broadcast live news coverage and telling her audience that's irresponsible. The network made a similar move in January when it cut off coverage of Trump's victory address following the Iowa Republican caucuses. Maddow told viewers allowing them to witness it live could incur a cost to us. Not to you, not to the viewers that actually want to see this and tune in to watch this crap. No, it's dangerous to us. And that's why you, the viewer, are not allowed to get the news from us because it's going to hurt us. Again, the darling of conspiracies every night. How many years of Russiagate she has pulled out of her ass. We have sunsetted that and brought up the rise of the idea of institutionalizing Trump's critics, which I find it's, again, this is so hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. After the years we actually had Trump in office and all the claims that Trump was going to take his abuse of power and he's going to, sue the media. He was going to go after Clintons. He was going to do after stuff. And yes, it may have riled people up. It may have got people encouraged because they see the skeletons within the closet of the establishment. So yeah, maybe having someone saying that they're going to criminalize the criminals within the establishment is going to invoke influence within the populace and invoke people. But did he actually do it? No. And he's not going to. He's not going to because Trump, even though he says the right things, he is smart enough to know that there is a deeper state that is going to target him even further if he does try to do any of the stuff that they claim he's going to do. They know it. They know that the intelligence services, the agencies, they have 6 ways to suddenly take anyone down. That's what Chuck Schumer said. They know that Trump will never have the attempt to do this. So the fact that they're telling their audience, they're fabricating this lie of saying that, oh my God, if this orange guy gets reelected again, I may be sent to prison. We might not have a show anymore. Like when Bill Maher and Robert De Niro interviewed each other and they said, oh my God, Hollywood would not exist anymore. Do they honestly think that the rest of the viewing audience is that stupid to actually think that Trump is going to systematically shut down an entire Hollywood industry or go after Bill Maher or go after Rachael Maddow. Do you really think that Trump has that ability to bypass the deep state connections within the media? Because if he really wanted to, he had opportunities. He had many, many opportunities to do so, which he didn't. And he knows that because he knows that the further he goes down that or attempts to do any of that, the intelligence agencies, the deep state, the real players within our politics are really going to hammer him hard. Far beyond invading Mar-a-Lago. Far beyond convicting him of 34 felonies for banning a porn star. So this is all just an elaborate, like, it almost sounds like fan fiction, honestly, the way they're trying to present this. And it's not just Rachael Maddow that's saying this. It's not just people at MSNBC, because we also heard this from Nicole Wallace. We've also heard this from other liberal assets like Bill Maher and Robert De Niro saying about this. It just seems to be like the Democrat foreplay, if you will. Like this idea that Trump is going to convict me. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't want this big bad man to take me to the big house. It does sound like some sort of, kink, some sort of... Maybe the Democrats have a bit of a fetish towards Donald Trump convicting them, because here's AOC now introducing her conspiracy on the fact that young AOC, who hasn't really done much in the political sphere, has the audacity of Trump gonna convict her and send her to prison. This is on a podcast with Karen Swisher, who's an uptight writer for the New York Magazine. And here's what AOC said about this.
What happens to you if Donald Trump wins? What do you do? What's your first move?
I mean, it sounds nuts, but I wouldn't be surprised if this guy threw me in jail.
Really?
He's out of his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did his whole first campaign around lock her up. This is his motto.
Oh, he didn't say that, He said he didn't say it. Teasing.
Yeah, right?
We didn't say it. We didn't actually say it. Did he do it, though? I don't care what he said. Did he actually do what he said? Because, yes, I heard all the times that said, lock her up, referring to Hillary Clinton. I've heard that throughout the campaign. Did he bother to prosecute her? No. And we knew that. We knew that nothing was going to happen to that, because the whole entire establishment is protective of these criminals. The same way that Barack Obama was never going to prosecute George W. Bush. We were hoping, we had this idea, we had this kind of fabricated mindset that, oh my God, maybe someone out there would convict these felons for the harsh crimes they've done to humanity and what they've done in this country. That would be an idea, but we know how the system really plays. We know how deep the corruption goes, and it knows no bounds. So the fact that Donald Trump said, lock her up to Hillary Clinton and said, I'm going to put you in prison, was all just a ruse for his campaign. And yes, maybe people got riled up with that idea, but I think deep down people knew that it was not going to happen regardless. I mean, they're trying to lock up Donald Trump right now while Dick Cheney and George Bush, who massacred people by millions and lied the entire nation into an invasive war and cultivated a torture program, are able to walk free. So they know how the system is played. But it's crazy to say those words. Okay, if it is crazy, let's look at the other side of the coin. Trump's crazy for saying lock her up. Joe Biden, on the other hand, he is a notorious liar for many, many years, advocating that he protects civil rights. That throughout his entire political campaign, he has notoriously lied that he advocates for black people and minorities, and he stood and fought for civil rights. He met Nelson Mandela. Remember that lie that he told people? He was an existential liar when it came to being a civil rights advocate. I guess advocating them for mass incarceration because in 1994, he was going to send them to prison. So that's such a great civil rights leader right there. But remember in his campaign, and people vividly remember this, and I remember this, that at his campaign, he did a radio interview with the Breakfast Club in New York City. And he was interviewed by Charlemagne the God on this radio show. And Joe Biden looked deep into his eyes and told him that if you are hesitant of deciding whether to vote for me or Trump, you ain't black. And that's not crazy? I would have thought AOC would have called that out. I literally thought the squad would have hellfire towards Joe Biden. Because not only is that insane for a president to say that, but just in general, you're denouncing someone's race because they're not going to your agenda, because they're not crawling to you and begging for support. Is that how insidiously insane that is to do to someone on an interview, right to their face? If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. How was that deemed acceptable during a campaign like that? But the possibility of Trump locking up Hillary Clinton for actual heinous crimes, which we all know she is part of heinous crimes. We could have had an investigation on this multiple times, and they know that they're not going to actually lock her up. They know that it's going to be fixed to protect her. How is Joe Biden able to get away with not being the crazy one? To say that to right to his face, denouncing someone's race on air, right to his face. If you have trouble on deciding who to vote for, you ain't black. And maybe that's why a lot of people in the Bronx are sick and tired of Democrat policies and are siding with the game show host. They're siding with praise Donald Trump. And you get these bourgeois liberals that are going after them saying, hey, whoa, why are you siding with this guy? Don't you realize Trump is against black people? Don't you know that the Democrats are very civil rights and diverse? You know, they brought up the most bigoted person in politics to be the front runner and to be the president. So, put that in consideration. They're saying that Trump is crazy for lock her up. But Joe Biden denouncing someone's race on the air. No reaction to that. Absolutely no reaction. I would have thought AOC would have said something. I literally thought someone in the squad, because you think that would be like a personal reaction to that. Like, oh my God, how dare this old white guy denounce a black guy and his race for not voting for him. Anyway, let's see the rest of this.
I take him at his word. I take him at his word. I take him at his word when he says that he's going to round up people. I take him at his word when he threatens journalists. I take him at his word. I feel like what we saw in his first presidency was an amuse-bouche to what his intentions are. He has learned from his mistakes of appointing professionals, and he will not make that mistake next time.
What?
Okay. So, even hypothetically, if this was true, hypothetically, let's say out there in the world, Trump is in his locked basement like some sort of madman you've seen on like a Dateline episode, cultivating this idea of who to capture and who to lock in prison. Don't you think if all this time you're thinking Trump is going to lock me in prison for critiquing him, that maybe advocating for all these unjust trials that locking him up for banging a prostitute or having classified documents, all the witch hunt, all the conspiracies, the mass amounts of misinformation and propagandization of Russiagate, maybe you would have looked at that and said, hey, maybe that's going to blow back in my face one day. That maybe building all this up is actually going to add more fuel to the fire, to the possibility that Trump may convict them. Because if anything, if Trump does win in 2024, there's a possibility that Trump may retaliate. Because the fact that he was wrongfully convicted all these different times, you've added more fuel to the fire. So maybe Trump does put a vendetta on these people. Maybe not AOC because, again, she's young. She hasn't really done much when it comes to criminality. Nancy Pelosi, on the other hand, maybe. Chuck Schumer, I could see. Adam Schiff. Like, all these individuals that you know personally have skeletons buried deep within their closets. I could see it happening. And this is where Democrats and the anti-Trump people cannot see this. And this is why I vow to protect the justice part of all this, and why I keep balance to the fact that even as a person that, personally has no like for Trump, that unjustly trying to prosecute him and fabricating these laws and being actually doing stuff illegal behind closed doors, being that corrupted to try to criminally prosecute your political opponent is wrong. It's deeply wrong. It's unjust. And that's why I step up and defend the fact that you are prosecuting your political opponent. It's going to blow back in your face. And that is what we're seeing right now. All the times that you were trying to lock him up, throw him into prison, throw all of this people within the party all in prison, make up all these conspiracies about the P-tape, the dossier, the connections with Vladimir Putin, all that crazy stuff that they said for the last 5 years now, 5 or 6 years. And now they're finally witnessing the potential that all that was going to elevate the possibility that's going to blow back right in their face. Now, do I want Trump to prosecute Rachael Maddow? No. Obviously not. But it is kind of interesting that they bring this to attention in the fact that, yes, Rachael Maddow has a lot of faults at here. Rachael Maddow and MSNBC should be investigated for all the misinformation, for the misguidance, for the propagandization, lies that they told their own viewers throughout the entire Trump presidency. But this is just, again, building up another conspiracy to fearmonger people once again during an election process because they want to fear you into voting their way. The same way that Joe Biden denounced a person's race, denounced a person of color and their race for not voting the way that he wanted him to. Which I find that absolutely disgusting. And I'm literally shocked. I'm shocked to this day that AOC has not once, I have not seen AOC once call any of that out. I have not seen anyone in the squad mention how Joe Biden This guy who was supposed to be an advocate for civil rights and the most progressive and diverse candidate imaginable. This guy who became president who could barely finish a sentence. When he actually was coherent, he was a massive bigot. A huge, huge bigot. And not one single member of the progressive squad said a word about it. But they're willing to side along with the Democratic ideologues to try to squander their political opponents and say that, well, if you vote for this guy, I might go to prison. I might not have a show, which, frankly, it's not going to do anything for their viewers. It's not exactly an encouraging message. Like, honestly, Nicole Wallace loses her show. Okay, whatever. How many people would actually, generally miss, the 2-hour show that she has every single day lying to you right to your face? How many people are actually genuinely going to miss that? It just brings it all in perspective.